Hi guys and girls. Okay, my name is Thomas Ramstad and I'm going to be here with you for the next 45 minutes. And I'm going to talk about, as Sveinung said, startup, scale up, fuck up. I have been in the technology and consulting business, IT, for the last 30 years. And I was also employed by Easee in 2023. I worked there for approximately 9 months. I'm the author of this book as well. I'm not here to sell you the book because it's not much money in it anyway. But I'm going to provide you with a lot of lessons and some theory and some practice. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take you on a journey. So imagine if you're part of this Norwegian growth rocket. And what you do is that in your second year, you grow from 0 to 1.5 billion kroner. It is a huge success. And in the next 5 years, you grow from 3 founders to 550 people. You know, you win prizes and everything looks perfect from the outside. But what happens when your rocket is not good enough? What happens then? You know? And that is what we're going to talk about. Okay, these are the sales numbers. Profit, revenue, and cost for Easee. Starts over here in 2018, nothing. 2019, 2020, and as you can see, you know, the revenue, sales is the red one. You know, it rockets. It is fantastic. You know, it's almost never seen of in Norway. This is the number of employees. And here, it's very, very important to maintain speed, of course. And then you scale. But what happens here? That is quite fantastic. It's outstanding. But it's not positive. Why? I'm going to tell you. Because Easee was not producing their own charges. They outsourced the manufacturing of the charges. Okay? One thing. They didn't sell their own charges. That was Circle K, Tibber, Elproffen, things like that. You know? So why do they need this peak of employees? You know? And that is what we're going to talk about, among other things. But first, this is a huge success, you know? Really. And in the beginning, a startup is like, you know, it's like anarchy. It's great fun. It's a lot of energy. It's everyone is doing everything, a bit of this and a bit of that. I'm going to do this, you know, I'm going to do this. This is interesting, you know. And the last 5 minutes is like history. Behold the future, you know. We are going forward really, really fast. I'm going to go this way for you. Okay? And it's guerrilla mindset and a very charismatic founder, full of energy, almost like a dictator. And there's a trap, of course. There's a downside, you know? Because founders are heroes and bottlenecks at the same time. And another thing is, they sort of, there's a pendulum, you know, visionary and you're a dictator, which might be good sometimes. And especially in this case, there is a huge resistance. They've even talked about in the newspaper for structure, hierarchy, older people telling you what to do, and sort of I know best attitude, which might not be good at all. And another thing is, my way works. You know, the founders know best. It's my way or the highway. And it's my way because we have had success, which might be true, but it might not be true for the future. So this is the Carnarian framework. And what it does is that it shows you which sort of situation you are in, even as a person, also as a company or a team. So you got simple, chaos, complex, and complicated. And it also tells you sort of how you can react and what to do. But if you're a founder and you think that, woohoo, I'm best, you know, I know best because we have previous success, you know, you are here, best practice, we do what we know best, and what we have done, we're going to continue to do that. But lo and behold, if you think that that is going to help you in the future, you know, past success makes you not invulnerable to future failure. And that means that this chaotic domain over here grabs hold of you by the throat and brings you here to chaos because you didn't see this, you didn't prepare for this. And lo and behold, when reality hits the fan, this is what happens, you know. And if you think, oh, well, this has to be with directives and regulations and, you know, things like that, you're wrong. You have information, but you're not well informed. And we're not going to discuss that in this talk, but we can talk. You can come and talk to me later if you want to. Okay, so scaling does not mean hiring more people. You remember the previous slide? It looked like, you know, I don't know, like a really, really huge mountain, the earlier scale, where you scaled from just like 3 people in the beginning and 550 people, sort of January 2023. A huge amount of people. And remember again, outsourcing the production of the charger and sales is done by anybody else. You know, Circle K, blah, blah, blah. And you do not scale just by adding more people. And you probably know that as well, because I guess you've been in projects where you have, you know, been a team member. And what you've done is that you entered some problems and you report delay. And for example, a project lead or somebody else say, okay, but we can add more people. Nah, adding more people is not increasing your speed. But what you need is that you need to add actually structure, because structure makes it clear. And also you need to do is that you actually need to do what are we scaling and why. You can't just scale people or scale sales or whatever, because you have to ask yourself, why are we scaling and why are we scaling this? You know, manufacturing, marketing, development, innovation. You can't just say, okay, we're going to scale, you know? Why? And I'm going to show you something. It's a framework. It's the McKinsey 7S. And why? Well, it's a point of view where it's a framework for analyzing your structure. And when you think about McKinsey, you think, oh, fuck, you know. But it's quite useful. So bear with me. Because you can use it lightly, you know, and it has system, structure, skills, you know, and it gives you a sort of a hint of your organization and how it looks and how you can analyze it. And I look at this as a bearing point, you know, because you have small balls, you know, and they all have to work together, and you can't increase the size of one because then the whole thing won't spin. So you have to look at each of them. You can't just make one smaller or bigger. You have to look at them. The point is not that they should be equal size, but you have to watch each one of them. Okay? So if we put 7s on that, you have it here. But a lot of founders, they are, you told when you go to entrepreneur school at NTNU, I'm going to give their talk there as well, entrepreneur school. They are very keen on doing the business model canvas, you know. But the business model canvas does not look at how you look. You know, it looks at your organization from an outside perspective. Your channels, your partners, what are you selling, you know, money's, your streams of money. Can't remember the English word right now. But if you can make these works together, you know, 7S from the inside and business model canvas from the outside, it's a happy marriage because it makes you available. It makes you able to actually analyze both of them and marry them, and it makes you able to scale in a healthy way. And that's a good thing. So use both of them at the same time, not just one or the other. A lot of people, when we talked about this case, they thought that control bureaucracy and things like that, structure, you know, it's the enemy of innovation. It's the enemy of us. It's the enemy of us producing cool things and development. Well, it's not, because if you have the right structure, it actually makes you faster. And why? Yeah, well, because other people know who you are. They know what you do. They know your interface with other people. They know how you sort of collaborate with the rest of the teams. And if they don't know that, they don't know what they could expect from you. And other people don't know what to expect from you. So you have to have a collaboration model. You have to have an interface, a mandate, you know, an agreement. And if people know about that, it's much easier. It is like an API, you know, and you have a repository of APIs. For example, you have microservices. You know, you can't just throw your microservice out there and, for example, not documenting it and not telling people how to use it and when to use it and what to expect. Then it will just be out there, you know. And structure is not bureaucracy. It's a really a difficult name or a word. Because structure it makes your organization predictable. It makes you predictable to other people as well. And it brings clarity, actually. Because you have feedback loops. You have sort of an ordered way for information to flow. Because if everything is unstructured, you have a sort of a power hierarchy of information, and some people know something about this thing, and other people are not informed, and then you don't have a balance, and people start talking, and that's not a good thing either, because people need to be informed, and when you have a structure, information flows, people know where to go, people know where to address other people, they know what they do. So actually, if you want to attain speed, clarity and structure are one of the key elements. So, okay. This is Christopher. He is previous founder of Eduplation. And he stayed in his job for a very, very long time. Too long, according to him. He said that I should have left my job long time ago. And founders tend to cling to their position, their role, and their title too long. Because they are founders. And they're probably the only role they're good at, to be a founder. And in Danish, founder is, apologies for all the rest of the English-speaking audience, igangsetter, which is probably a better word. You sort of start things, and you stop when you have started things. You don't continue to run the company. And what happened to Christopher was that he quit. And his company just went like, poof, because he had good ideas. He had energy. He had charisma. And he had just this drive. But he was not very good at scaling his company. And you have to do that or be that person, because you can't be one person for all the stages of a sort of company's lifetime. So, of course, this is not Napoleon, but it's supposed to be Napoleon, this new Napoleon film. And in 1805, Napoleon, he had a battle in Austerlitz. He fought, among others, of course, the Austrians and the Hungarians and the Russians, and he won. And what happened to Napoleon is what happens to a lot of founders. They get a big-headed because they get a lot of attention and they get a lot of success. And that happened to Napoleon as well, because in 1812, what happened in 1812? Russia. Yes, exactly. And he lost. Well, he didn't lose, actually. He went off into Russia. Russia is a very, very big country, and it turned out that he went in the autumn, which is a bad idea, because in Russia it's very, very cold in the winter. And in 1812 it was one of the coldest winters for a very, 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 very long time. And he went off with 700 approximately 1,000 men, and very, very few of them returned. So what got Napoleon, in 1805 and an empire, and he crowned himself an emperor, will not get you there. And so that means that, a founder's role, when you start the company, it's okay to be a sort of dictator, because it's we're going this way, it's my way or the highway. That's okay. It's very strong ego and very charismatic, and that's okay in the beginning. But when you reach, for example, Scaleup, and you reach maturity and you're going to be a big company, you have to change your leadership style. And even in a company that you're working in today, it might be that you need a different leadership than you needed 6 months ago as well. And that's okay. But you have to be aware. Otherwise, you can't scale. And you can't end up here either. So you can't be, a dictator for a very, very long time. Well, at least it's not healthy. Even the Roman Empire fell. You need to have a different leadership style. This is scale up. You have to listen. You have to build. You have to, you have to build partnerships. Over here, this is ordinary sort of just running a company, maintaining a healthy structure. And it also means that, I talked to some other people earlier here, it means that if you're going to do innovation and for example, make up some nice other things, it means that it is a better idea to start a different company, beside your current company, because you are not able and you're not the right fit to start a new company. You don't have the people, you don't have the structure, you don't have the drive, so start another company. Okay, so what did Easee learn the hard way? If you just grow by the number of people, you become very, very fragile. Scaling is not just employing a lot of people, getting a lot of people on board. That is not scaling. Culture drift, it is actually real, because when you have a culture in the beginning, you have to maintain, and your culture might change as well. You might need another culture when you scale from your culture when you were a startup. So that is okay as well. And culture drift, it might be okay as well, but you have to keep your eyes on the culture, because it might drift, in the wrong direction. And that is not good. And as I told you in the previous slide, leadership must evolve with scale. And that means that you might, kick out the founder or the founders or some employees that are really good at starting up companies. And that's okay as well. But have a good chat, not just kick them out, of course. And success is not a shield, Success is not a guarantee for future success. And that goes for you as well. You have to evolve, you have to develop, you have to learn new things, And that is the same thing for a company. And that is, the same thing goes for countries. This country, we've been doing good, well, for a long time. It is not a recipe for future success. Undefined roles and responsibility reduces speed, because if people don't know who to go to, who to address, slows down the organization. If they don't know who is in charge, who they should sort of hand over this hot potato, that will actually split the potato, cool it down, and handle it. It reduces speed. And that is really, really important. Because if you can't manage this, you will slow down. Because in the beginning, speed was the focus for a startup, and is a focus for a startup, because you have to hit the market. So speed is good. Speed is good. Be out there. Fail fast, and fail early, and fail often. And that's good, because if you do that more often, you're learning. You get insight, and that is good, Because if you scale really, really early and really, really steep, as we saw on the graph in the beginning, this slows down. Because you don't have the structure. You don't have the clarity. You don't have the mandates. You don't have the collaboration model. People don't know how to collaborate, And it slows down. So what you're going to do is that you want sort of both. You want scale and you want speed. So how do you manage that? You want to be up there, So how do you do that? Well, what do you do? Because you heard this before, empowerment, amongst other things. And it seems, and here is simple, but it's not. It's very, very difficult. And a lot of people, when the shit hit the fan for Easee, a lot of people said, oh yeah, these regulations, it's the enemy of innovation. These old people, they don't know what to do, they don't know what they're doing. It's killing startups and organizations. Nah, it's not. It's just rules. It's the same as saying, okay, the rules of football are killing the game. It's not, is it? Are there any programmers here, developers? Yeah. Is the syntax killing your development? Yeah, it is, yeah. Yeah. You hit, you hit compile button and you say, fuck, this compiler is killing my code. Huh? Nah, it's not. And you press link and say, fuck. And you try to deploy and it doesn't work. And it's just like, fucking customers, they shouldn't be there. No, it's not. Compliance is actually there to help you. And if you make compliance your friend, it is actually an advantage because other people are struggling. So make it your friend, the same as you make your compiler your friend. Team as an entity is important as well. You probably read team topology. And if you make team, I'm not going to talk about product team, blah, 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 but make it a team of, and we had this earlier talk as well. He talked about psychological safety and things like that. Team. And then you have the mandate, you have the contract, you have the collaboration model, you have the interfaces, and you have the expectations, and you can collaborate as the same thing as you do with microservices and things like that. And we all collaborate as well. And then you can get speed and scale. Okay, diversity in supply and services. I'm working with a customer now. They are developing a lot of integration services. And what they do is they make a lot of microservices, and they are a bit pragmatic. Well, very, 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 very pragmatic. So they use the languages, databases, and everything they see fit. And that's the whole purpose with this, because what you make or develop, whether it's a product or code or whatever, it's probably redundant in very, very, it might not even live for 2 years' time, Which means that just make it, Even phones, TVs, computers, after 3 years, gone. So it's not the holy grail that is going to live for 1,000 years, So make it simple, make it work, boom. I talked about API, API, you can look at API as an interface, just an agreement, exchanging documents that you have agreed upon. And if you have that mindset, you have an agreement, you know what the other teams are doing, and you collaborate only with the teams that you need something from and teams that you deliver something to. Then you speed, because you don't talk to a lot of other people, You collaborate with the teams that you need to collaborate with. And the other thing, last thing, is, which is really difficult as well, I know, but share. Share failures, share success, share findings, share whatever you find, Have a failure Friday, success Wednesday, share on your wikis or whatever. Write blogs, I don't know, but just share. Because if you don't share with other teams, with your colleagues, you will stagnate and it will reduce your speed, because you don't innovate and you don't grow. And that's really, really bad. So if you're going to both scale and speed, these are the key takeaways I'm going to give you. And I know it sounds simple when I tell you now, but it is actually really, really difficult. But because not a lot of people actually manage to do this. And then you have a fuck up. Excellent. Thank you.